and then there are many other methods, but one of the methods is gingival periosteoplasty and bone graft. Usually gingival periosteoplasty, when we do, then there is doing bone graft after that is obviate, but it is needed only when there is a bone gap. Now what are the actual defects is basically in cleft lip and cleft palate both, what is happening is there is everted premaxilla. So in order to make it aligned, because in everted premaxilla there is mal-aligned or misaligned dentition, right? So to prevent that, we do intraoral acrylic plate, and then is there is short and stretched columella to make it very lengthened. So we are giving a horizontal prolabial band, and then LR cartilage is failed to reach the tip of nose. For that we giving nasal stenting. Let us see this in next picture. Yeah, here it is the acrylic plate which is kept inside the mouth so that the premaxilla is put in the place, and then they are made connected to the cheek. And coming to here is the nasal stenting. This to elongate and stretch the columella and as well to support the dome of the ala in the neonatal period. After doing this orthodontic procedure, we do gingival periosteoplasty. Coming to cleft palate per se, in cleft palate, one thing to remember is there is something called palatine fibromucosa. This palatine fibromucosa are three parts. One, the gingival part, two is the maxillary part, and three is the central part. Central part is usually thin. Gingival part is actually is present anteriorly and lines the alveolus. The maxillary part is the major part, and the central part is very thin and being center. One important thing is the maxillary part has the vessels. This view of diagram is like when someone is sitting near the opening of the parotid gland, and from there you're viewing the maxilla like this. This is the view. It is a supralateral view. It is a simple constructed diagram. Next, coming to types of cleft palate, this is most important. When we say it is an incomplete cleft palate, it is when the palate is attached to the nasal septum and the vomer bone. If it is not attached, there is no attachment between the nasal septum and vomer bone, then that is called as the incomplete cleft palate. Submucous palate, I have already said, when the levator muscle fail to fuse in the midline, on palpation there will be a notch felt at the posterior end of the hard palate. These are the three varieties of cleft palate. LAH SAHL classification just says that L for lip, A for alveolus, H for hard palate, and S for soft palate. Again H for hard palate, A for alveolus, and L for lip. It is like from soft palate, this is anterior part of soft palate, and extending to the hard palate, then involving alveolus and involving lip. It is go from LASH SHAL, from soft palate to lip and lip to soft palate. This is the classification, one classification. And next classification is Kenahan's classification. In Kenahan's classification, they are actually giving a configuration of Y. In that configuration of Y, they are numbering in like this. Here 1 and 4 are lips, 2, 5 are like the alveolus, 3 and 6 is actually the hard palate, and what is seeing here, this round structure is the incisive foramen. And after this incisive foramen also we have the 7 is the hard palate, and 8 and 9 are palate, of which 8 is the hard palate, but this 9 is alone a soft palate. Based on this configuration, they are classifying again the types of cleft palate and cleft lip. This is what is Millard's modification of Kenahan's Y classification. It is again the same. This 1 and 5 is nasal floor, 2, 6 are lip, representing the lip, 3 and 7 for alveolus, 4 and 8 for hard palate, and this is the incisive foramen we saw. 9 and 10 for hard palate, posterior to the incisive fossa, and 11 is for soft palate. This is Millard's modification of Kenahan's stripped Y classification of cleft lip and cleft palate. Now at last, coming to Wardell-Kilner view 4 flap technique. It is very simple. It is actually done for cleft palate. Now what we are going to do here is, first is the VY flap. This VY flap is just as simple as this. Taking a V-shaped cut and taking a flap and then suturing it to like a Y shape. So this is a VY flap. This VY flap is what we're going to do first here, and after that a vertical incision on the central palatine fibromucosa. So if this is the palate and this is the cleft, we make a vertical incision like this, and then the nasal and the oral fibromucosa are mobilized. And then what we do is we make a lateral longitudinal incision like this, and this incision will be continuing anteriorly with the median part, and by this we are making a releasing, this is the releasing incision. And after doing this, the muscular attachment of soft palate is detached from the hard palate. Muscular attachment is detached from here, and what they do is they suture it to the opposite side. The muscles of the palate is sutured to the opposite side. For adequate and for more mobilization, we can do a breaking of the pterygoid hamulus. At last, the nasal side and oral side is sutured separately, and the greater palatine vessels need to be preserved. Post-operatively, care must be taken to avoid solid foods, so liquid food should be given, liquid diet, and then hands can be splintered because these are a baby, so they can have the tendency of pulling the sutures. So hands can be splintered to prevent the pulling of sutures, and then the suture line is cleaned with povidone iodine. Stitches can be removed on 5th to 6th day of post-operatively in case of cleft lip. For cleft palate, if at all there is a narrowing of the posterior and nasopharyngeal isthmus, there can be pharyngoplasty be done, or else post-operative speech therapy is needed for patients who is undergoing a palate surgery. These are my references. Thank you so much for your patient listening.